Yes, we come to you today with an extraordinary alert. A few days ago, this is June 2023, a few days ago, this fellow that was governor in Kaduna, what's his name again, Nasir El-RUFAI, was caught on video addressing some Muslim clerics. And then he was telling them about the victory they have now achieved over the rest of Nigeria, that will now be an Islamic, state, some kind of, that they has done it in Kaduna, they've now replicated it at the center, and by the time everybody does their first 8 years and another 8 years, that they have taken over. Well, for those who do not understand what game is being played, Ninas will explain it to you now. El-RUFAI was talking about Islam because he wants to deceive you who do not know. What he was celebrating with his confederates is basically the success of the conquest agenda of the Fulani, that the Fulani now own Nigeria, and that nothing anybody can do. That was why he probably did not plan to make it something everybody should hear, but in these days of technology, somebody recorded him, and the whole world now knows. That is a confirmation of the suspicion, our charge, which has been in the realm of allegation, conjecture in the minds of those who have not paid sufficient attention. But we who have gone to research how we came about this union of death, this union of master and servant, this constitution of slave and slave master, Unitary Constitution of Nigeria. We have traced the emergence of that unitary constitution, that constitution of master and servant, that constitution that makes Nigeria the exclusive possession, the exclusive property of the Fulani. We traced it back to 1960. The battle script of Ahmadu Bello, the mission statement of Ahmadu Bello in October 1960. While the rest of Nigeria was drinking champagne for independence, what was labeled independence, Ahmadu Bello was celebrating something entirely different with his lieutenants. And he told them that the new nation called Nigeria should be an estate of our great-grandfather Uthman Dan Fodio. We must ruthlessly prevent a change of power. We use the minorities of the North as willing tools and the South as a conquered territory, and never allow them to rule over us, and never allow them to have control over their future. This was reported in Parrot newspaper of 12th October 1960. Now, this battle script by Ahmadu Bello brings us to two things. We go to the map of Nigeria. The MNN was the precursor to Ninas. The map of Nigeria that puts Nigeria in the four compartments of its natural fault lines. The upper part, that is the Sharia belt in green. The purple you see is the middle belt, and that middle belt includes southern Kaduna, southern Borno, and all the Christian fringes of those 12 states that went to do Sharia in year 2000 simultaneously. So let's be clear that that middle belt does not respect the southern boundaries of those 12 states. The Christian communities from Chibok all the way to Zuru in Kebbi, from the east to west of the line is drawn by the reality of who is on ground, not what Nigeria did by decree. And so you come down south, you see the blue block is the Yoruba that includes Yoruba of Kwara, Yoruba of Kogi, and part of Edo if they may go to plebiscite to determine. And then the balance of what you have is the lower Niger, that's the former eastern region and the former midwestern region together. But even as it is brown as you see, there's a map that delineates the ethnic constitution of that lower Niger, that's eastern half of southern Nigeria. So we're trying to bring you to see what Ahmadu Bello was talking about in that battle script. So you have seen this map now. That's the first thing that comes. So you begin to imagine the processes in keeping with that instruction, that mission statement, that vision of the Ahmadu Bello. The ruthlessness you saw in that battle script was what attended to the quarrel with Eastern Nigeria between 1966 and 1970. Those nearly over 3.5 million, by Gowon's account, he said they had to kill 5 million people to preserve Nigeria. That was Gowon's figure. We say no less than 3.5 million got killed, of which no less than 2 million were children who were deliberately starved to death. You saw the video from Red Cross just the other day. And so it was that ruthlessness that Ahmadu Bello dictated in that battle script of 1960 that attended to that what should have been a civil war. But General Philip Effiong's son just released a book in which he said, a book entitled An Uncivil War. The war was not any kind of civil war. It was a war between countries. You say there was a country called Biafra at the time, which was the eastern region that had to pull away when genocide was launched against it, and the rest of Nigeria. Of course, there are renegades in the coastal side of eastern Nigeria that eventually went with them. Anyway, we come back to the question of ruthlessly preventing a change of power. Kill whoever you have to kill. Seize all their assets. Don't ever let them recover. Don't stop. That's what that means. You come down to the using the willing tools of the North, the minorities of the North as willing tools. Back to our map. Look at the people that did the killings on behalf of that caliphate. You see Gowon, you see Danjuma, you see Jeremiah Husseini, you see David Mark, and the whole number of them. On that map, 80% of the killings that had to be done, they presided over it. And that's how they could come to the victory charter. At the close of proceedings in 1970, everybody had been beaten down. Oh yes, let's kill the Igbo and their neighbors. And so, the victory charter from that war was what became constitution between 1975 and 1979. Now look at who processed that constitution for them. Yes, Murtala Mohammed commissioned it, Kano, but he died in February of 1976, and so his second in command, Olusegun Obasanjo, took charge and then executed what will become the permanence. The Ahmadu Bello meant that this situation in which the Fulani will prevail and own Nigeria must be permanent. So the constitution, the unitary constitution that was imposed as victory charter from that war of 67 to 70, the so-called Biafran War, is the mechanism by which the victory was made permanent. So their victory was codified, and it was a member of the slave South, a member of the conquered territory, because if you are conquered, you are a slave. So Obasanjo essentially was the head slave who had to do for the master what the master wanted. And so Obasanjo presided over the processing of that victory charter into constitution that became 1979 constitution. And it was the same Obasanjo that Caliphate found to bring her from prison in 1999 to reinforce and reinstate that 1979 constitution. That is where we are. It is that victory of having that Ahmadu Bello's vision transformed into reality, imposed. All our assets are gone. The oil and gas of Niger Delta is taken by that constitution. The ports of Lagos, the ports of Port Harcourt, taken by that constitution. The bitumen of Ondo, taken by that constitution. The limestone of Benue, for which Dangote has become richest, Africa's richest man, taken by that constitution. The right to build your infrastructure, railway, road, everything, taken by that constitution. All the institutions, all the armed forces today, controlled by those same set of people. And so, what El-Rufai, in case you did not understand, I want you to understand that El-Rufai is saying to all of us that that vision of Ahmadu Bello that has been, operationalized by way of the constitution that codifies their stranglehold, their victory over all of us, has now been completed. And the ethnic cleansing we see, the Fulani invasion that is going on, is happening within the context of that conquest that has now to be finalized by the elimination of the future claims. The ethnic cleansing, the killings happening in southern Kaduna, killings happening in Plateau, killings happening in Nasarawa, Benue is coming to Port Harcourt. It will sweep eastern Nigeria. It's not going to leave Yoruba out. If anybody is stupid enough to think that Yoruba will be treated differently, sorry for you. Go and ask about Afonja and what happened to Ilorin. They are not going to leave anybody. So El-Rufai is telling us in triumphant arrogance, he is now boasting that they have conquered and they are going to just take it. What can any of you do? The reason he is able to do that is that constitution that is the victory, the codification of their victory is still prevailing. The only reason that constitution is still prevailing is that all of you are going to election every 4 years, pretending to be doing a democracy on the basis of a constitution of master and servant that puts you as servant, that take your assets, that put all the guns in the hands of those who took your assets to order you around, those who control the electoral machinery, because that constitution has 68 items on the exclusive list. Everything on that list is controlled by Fulani. Whether it's arms and ammunition or elections, everything on that list, your economic assets, refinery, that's why Dangote is given monopoly. Having hijacked all of what belongs to all of us, they are now giving it out to themselves as concessions. And we are here clapping and cheering that we are growing our democracy, deepening our democracy. And so, what are we to do with all this information? We have a choice to make. To surrender, to be slaughtered to the last, because they are coming. They are not going to stop. You saw, if you remember, before the election came, we had in a broadcast raised an alarm to alert our people that the election they're advertising is a decoy, something to deceive you into thinking you are going from. They have their plan A and plan B, and that the election is just plan C. In case their plan A fails and their plan B does not sail through, they fall back to plan C, that they will control the outcome, because they already have a mechanism to control the outcome. But they don't want to be doing democracy with you. They had their plan A, is conquest by invasion. You saw the pace at which they were coming when Buhari first came. Buhari threw our borders opened, and Fulani came from everywhere across the Sahel, across West Africa, pouring in with weapons, slaughtering people, overrunning whole communities, and changing the names as they went along. El-Rufai was a resident commander. You remember when Dr. Melafia, Obadiah Melafia, only them know how he eventually got killed. I will not be surprised if it is from within the circle of let's take them out. You saw the woman leader of Labour Party in Southern Kaduna and how she went. So the El-Rufai that is boasting now about that conquest that they have almost completed is only the God that wants to save all of the rest of Nigeria, that has forced him to open his mouth and boast about the existence and potency, mark my words, the existence and potency of the Fulani Conquest Agenda. That is what El-Rufai has confirmed. And we have traced it back to where their champion, Ahmadu Bello, instructed them on what to do. El-Rufai is reporting to us that they've done that thing, they have seized the place, and they are now eliminating the people who, the claimants, the people who are going to say it belonged to us yesterday. That's what the Constitution already make your land their land. That preamble that says we the people have solemnly resolved to live together forever as one indivisible. They put your name, they put your signature on a title deed that cede your land to them permanently. That's what that Constitution is, a title deed. All of the professors and senior advocates from the South, you saw them in Abuja in their numbers. All the senior advocates in Nigeria are now throwing themselves over one another in courtroom in Abuja. But they were never interested in the Constitution that that make them slaves, and they're interested in the billions they are going to share. That's all they're interested in. Where have they been in this discussion of Constitution that make us slaves in our land? So straight from election tribunal, the next place we are going to see them is EFCC grab the governors that just came out, and then billions are alleged to have been stolen. The lawyers step in. Those same lawyers you see in courtroom in Abuja. Find out any one of them who has ever said anything about the Constitution that is the fraud we are living in. And if you can't find their names there, and you go down, you see that every election cycle they turn up to settle there, because what do they do in those courtrooms? It is money that is carried around. They are paid money. Part of that money ends up with the judges. That's what they've been doing. And they do the same with EFCC matters. All of the corruption, how many people are in prison today? That's what those lawyers are doing. And the blood of those who are being killed will be first on their head. The next set of people we have to call out are the church leaders. Those people who mounted their podiums to preach PVC at the time the enemy was piling off AK-47 and tons of dollars and naira to be used to prevail on the day of reinforcing the life of that Constitution, that the day of election. It is to reinforce the life of that, to renew the life of that Constitution that they dragged us to election for. If you doubt me, go to YouTube and search 2023 election strategic decoy of the Caliphate, so the Conquest Agenda. We lay all these things bare before you. It is your choice. It's up to you. It's up to you to make up your mind whether you want to live or you want to die. Anybody who is on the side of that Constitution, doing PDP, APC, Labour Party, swearing to defend and uphold your enslavement, is the enemy in the circumstance. And if after what El-Rufai has opened up to, what El-Rufai has confirmed, you do not stand up to join in saying that that Constitution that is the instrument of that oppression, instrument sustaining that they are prevailing, if you do not join in the effort to take it down, then you are certainly on the side of the enemy in this fight. If you are from the south and you're in the middle belt, and you are not already being seen, you are not already loudly in public place rejecting that constitution as basis of union, you are a part of the problem. You are working for the enemy. You are sustaining the enslavement of the rest of the people. If you are a lawyer, your case is worse. If you're a clergyman, if you ever mounted the podium to preach PVC, in which the enemy was luring you to come to renew the life of constitution that they imposed on you to prevail permanently, we challenge you today to go back to that podium and tell the people, the flock you led into this damnation they are in now. They are dying of poverty right now. They are being slaughtered right now in Benue, in Southern Kaduna, in Nasarawa, in Plateau. You are the one that led them to where they are now. They are going to be killed some more. That's what El-Rufai is telling you will happen. You must go back to the podium now. El Buba, Enenche, Adeboye, all of those who ask people, the Catholic bishops, all of those who ask people to go and get PVC, you must go back to BMA in Port Harcourt. All of you who ask your flock to go and get plastic PVC issued by the enemy in a battle of AK-47, you must go back to the podium today and tell them that election is not the solution to the problem, that constitution is the problem. If you keep silent, then you are standing with darkness. You are standing with the enemy, because that constitution will survive because you kept quiet. It will not be counted as any kind of wisdom. It is because you want to stay where your intestines fare better. That's how we read it. You must go and say it to the hearing of the international community, the hearing of the whole world, that election will not solve Nigeria's problem, that the constitution is the problem and we must go to transition now. You must identify the same way you identified with a party that will win and come and solve your problem. It is not the P2B that will solve the problem. It is the constitution that will either go down for you to be free or stay up for you to be exterminated. You are already impoverished. You are now waiting to be exterminated. El-Rufai is telling you, we are coming for you. And what else? What are you doing now? You are asking the same people you lured into that trap to pray for the tribunal. What stupidity! What stupidity! You are praying for, you forget that the tribunal is an arm of, is the judiciary, and an arm of the system that has executive and legislative. You forgot it's the enemy's institution? Why do we insult God in this manner? The men of God in Nigeria, all of you, praying for a tribunal. Instead of standing up to declare the truth that the constitution is the problem, declare the truth that we must go to transition and solve the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria to end the master-servant union we've had, like apartheid. Was it PVC that Bishop Tutu preached in South Africa that ended apartheid? The lawyers in the land. Was it the election tribunal that Mandela was going to, a fellow lawyer, Oliver Tambo, that solved apartheid in South Africa? Why are you working for darkness in competition with light? We say these things, you may ignore it, but those who are being slaughtered, those whose economic assets have been detained, those who are going to die from poverty that is now being increased exponentially. Talking about subsidy. What is subsidy? Labour Congress of Nigeria, the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC partner. Have you asked yourself what subsidy means? Where are you now? What have you said about what is going on? The source of all the problems, is the constitution. What has Nigerian Labour Congress said about it? What has Nigerian Bar Association said about it? What has the Nigerian Medical Association? What is the media in Nigeria doing? We issued a 10-point interrogatory published in Guardian newspaper to say, can you ask these politicians to give you the people who are contesting the election in 2023, can you ask them to give you their answers to this, each of these issues? Anybody who wants to see what is written in those interrogatories should just Google it. Nina's interrogatories for political parties going to 2023 election. That's the title. Nina's interrogatories. Sorry. And so, I think it was in September. It came out the day before the campaigns were launched. In 2022. And so, if you go there, you will see that the media in Nigeria has been evading this discussion, plunging the people deeper and deeper into the dark, and we know who and who owns the platform, who and who controls. Some of them are now president. But when the flood will come, it will not spare you media people. If you do not join in this discussion to ask very loudly, under which constitution are we doing this democracy or this union? The constitution that El-RUFAI is boasting that they've prevailed, and we are all signing up to it. The people doing political parties, the people winning election, they are all signing to say it should remain like that. That's democracy for you. Were they not conducting elections in South Africa at the appointed time, every 4 or 5 years? They were conducting the election. But was it democracy for the blacks of South Africa? No. It was a union of master and servant, a union of debt for them. Why are we keeping this constitution and pretending we have a democracy under it? El-RUFAI has told you that the Fulani Conquest Agenda is very much in progress and is moving like a machinery towards you. Whether you are in Bonny or you are in Badagry, it will get to you. The opportunity we have now to overtake that enemy is to leave everything else, including mandate and who will be in government house, to go after the constitution upon which they stand, the constitution they imposed by the brigandage we saw from the days of Uthman Dan Fodio. When Uthman Dan Fodio came in 1804, it was on a conquest mission. By the time the British came in the 1860s, they became a joint venture, British Crown and the Caliphate. I'm sure you've seen the video titled Nigeria, the Evil Pyramid. Nigeria Evil Pyramid. Go and look at that video on that broadcast on YouTube, so you can see that it was what Uthman Dan Fodio came to do. He came from the Sokoto flank, that the British came in to do. They came from Atlantic waterfront. It was the joint venture between them that became 1914. And that 1914, they reported to you as amalgamation, was actually an annexation. You were handed over to this the Caliphate. That was what Lugard did. That was what Harcourt, the secretary for the colonies, confessed to in a 1913 telegram. Read that telegram. Look at it and see how the amalgamation, so-called amalgamation, was described. It was a marriage. It was like a betrothal. You took a young and underage girl and handed over to an adult man who was discussing with you, without any discussion with parents or anybody at all. Just hand over. That was what happened to us in 1914. That was that grand bequest of 1914 that Ahmadu Bello was celebrating in 1960, when he was now telling his lieutenants that the new nation must be an estate of their great-grandfather. The rest of the story is what I've already told you about how that has been executed, becoming the constitution that makes us slave in our land. I think that if we dress back from whatever we were thinking before, to know that we are in the midst of a clear and present danger, as El-RUFAI has now opened up. Is the forces of heaven that opened his mouth to say what he has said. But if you hear it and continue to do what you are doing, to take people into the belly of that monster, instead of helping us put that monster to death, that constitution is going down. The only difference will be the collateral damages, the collateral damages that will accompany the collapse of that constitution. Those who are not listening to us now will become statistics in that discussion. We stop here.